All right. Well, that means then that it's time for us to move on to our featured piece of content for today's stream, which is related to a ship that is available for purchase in the event store this month. You can also continue to earn it through your Terran faction store. We're talking about the Vindicator here, which I'm going to finish up right now. I got about 50 blueprints through the arena and bought the other 150 out of the event store. So let's go ahead and bring this ship out of the dock. Not the prettiest looking ship. We joke about it and say that it looks an awful lot like a surge protector. Some people also say if you look at it from behind, it's kind of making a mean face. You kind of see that as it pans around again. It kind of looks like it's making a mean face at you. And then obviously these things on the side do look like a surge protector. But here is the Vindicator. Provides a unique advantage against armadas. Activate the taunt ability. So then it will only shoot you. And the unfettered revenge ability takes energy from those attacks to increase the Vindicator's damage. So the more you get shot, the more damage you return fire back to your opponent. Earn space work credits. Yay, new currency! To use in the Vindicator refinery. Rewards from that refinery include parts to upgrade the ship, which is a very slow drip from what I understand. I believe someone said it would take like almost 2 years because of how slow the parts drip. Without spending any money to free to play, it's almost 2 years to take the ship all the way to max, which seems a little excessive. Hopefully that'll get better in future arcs, whether it's an efficiency or an additional sourcing for it, or it becoming available in event stores down the line, whatever the case may be. You also get this interdimensional data, which upgrades the ship and some of the research and stuff as well. You can also get Fleet Commander shards, specifically for Lorca, as well as the other Fleet Commanders if you don't have them unlocked. It'll also give you skill points, I believe, for Lorca, which hopefully we'll see here in just a second, as well as Armada countdown speed-ups, temporal disruptors, and more. Okay, well, let's go take a look, because now our refinery should be active. Now we can actually see what's going on in here. So this is our new currency, the Space Work Circuit, Spacely Sprocket. Basically what we're looking at here. You've got the Strong Box. It's a single chest pull only, which gives you a guaranteed amount of ship parts, as well as this interdimensional data. It does give you more temporal disruptors, though, too, which will help you acquire a lot of different artifacts faster and upgrade them faster. Your Fleet Commander acquisition over here. So if you pull this, it contains 1 shard for Lorca and Sloane, as well as 3 for each of the other people. In addition to what's above, also contains Fleet Commander credits according to your Vindicator tier. So at tier 1, you're getting 38 for Lorca, 21 skill points for Sloane, which is pretty big because Sloane's only real way of sourcing skill points is from the Section 31 faction store, and they're not cheap. They do require a lot of credits from doing wades. So being able to get these on a regular basis, you're talking about, 150 a week, approximately, will help with some of the skills. Uncommon credits and stuff as well to help with that aspect of it. As you tier it up, you can see that the points go up, so tiering up the ship will be helpful. And the amounts that you get here will steadily increase. You can see they're all based on your tier level. There's also officer acquisition in here. So you've got, each claim consists of 1 roll, chance to pull per rarity, and number of shards obtained. So most likely you're going to get 2 rare officers, or possibly 1 epic. And your chances of getting the higher level pulls at tier 1 are 0. Well, it's nice that they put that in there, 0.00. But you've got Tolra, Dax, Cisco, Sam, who's one of the newer officers. Chapel's in here, Pelia's in here. So a lot of people who are in that new event. Pelia, Chapel, Sam are all available right in here as well. Now, it's 300 per day. 7 days a week is 2,100 total credits. Every Thursday, there is an event that basically requires you to go run armadas. It's an SMS event. If you finish it, I think it tops out at like doing like a level 60. So you can do uncommons, you can do solos, whatever the case is, as long as you run a couple of armadas. You do not need to use the Vindicator in that armada. You just have to actually have the Vindicator to get the event, and then use any ships you want in that armada. And I believe for finishing that, you will get 2,100 credits, which is enough to do all 3 claims every day until the next week and the next event. I was waiting for chat to correct me if I just said anything wrong, since this is my first time with the ship and I don't have the event yet. If you use the Vindicator, you get more points. Okay, so there's a bonus for using it. It'll just speed up your completion of the event. You'll have to run possibly fewer armadas to do it. Everyone's giving me the thumbs up. Okay, so I nailed that one. The actual ship itself, if we go look at it here, right there. So we're starting off pretty small. Hey, I wasn't done with you. Tricky says you only need to do 2 level 60s without it. Okay. So if you can kill big stuff, you're pretty much done pretty quick. So no big deals there. All right, so we talked about the ship itself. So we're starting off with its actual ability, which is the taunt. At the start of combat, the Armada will target the Vindicator for the first 20 rounds. As you tier up the ship, the cooldown, the duration of it gets better, and then the cooldown also decreases. So you can continue to taunt more things. Essentially, this is going to be the focus of all attacks. So you'd want to put something with, a solid crew on it that can absorb damage, high mitigation, etc. And then that'll leave your other ships free to just fire at will. Maybe, like a crew like the Voyager crew, right? Some people like to run Chakotay with like Janeway and the Doctor because you need the mitigation from the Doctor. Well, if you have the Vindicator, you wouldn't need the Doctor because that other ship with that Voyager crew on it isn't going to get shot. So now you could run like Chakotay with 7 and Janeway and maximize your damage output from that secondary ship. Something like that. That would be the purpose of the taunt. Also, because of its low power, a lot of higher level players will bring this to Armadas to help other players out. Because since Armada loot is based on power, it having a low power level means you're not stealing loot. So if I'm, a level 62 player and some 40 levels in my alliance want to run, some Armadas, and they're like, yeah, let's go set them. And they show up with their 50 million strength pylums, and I show up with my 1.5 billion strength cube, I'm stealing all the loot from that. The only loot they're getting is most likely coming from the setter's chest. Well, now if I'm bringing the Vindicator instead, now it's a much more evenly divided amount of loot being given out. So that would be the advantage for the higher level player. Plus, I'm also taking the attention away from them so their smaller ships don't incur as much damage. They might live and last longer and therefore be able to set a second armada, set a third armada, and we can run a whole bunch in the same system because I'm taking all the damage for them. Its other ability is this Unfettered Revenge. So it starts with, at level 1 here, increases weapon damage by 5% for 5 rounds each time you are hit. So Weapons with multiple shots only trigger once per attack. So if you're fighting an armada that shoots, well, let's go back. We were just fighting some armadas earlier, right? Let's go look at these Dominion. There we go. We were doing some Dominion solos earlier, right? These are rares, level 60s. So that's one weapon shot. That's another weapon shot. That's a third weapon shot. There's a fourth weapon shot. There's a fifth. And there's a sixth. So this particular solo armada shot 6 times. Which means that at level 1, it would increase my weapon damage 30% at the end of round 1. Now this is cumulative. So round 2, they're going to fire again. Now I'm going up another 30%. I'm getting a 60% bonus. A 90%, 120 is going to cap out at 150, because after that, now again, this is assuming they fire the same number of weapons per round. Some of them alternate rounds. They're charging. But still, you get the idea of how the progression is going to work. And then you'll see some fluctuation as rounds start dropping off and new rounds get replaced. But that can certainly be beneficial. And if we go to stfc.space and we start looking at how this scales, that's just at level 1. I can immediately take it to level 5. I can immediately take it to level 5, which now becomes a 25% bonus. So now it's 25% per shot. I get shot 6 times. It's now 150% just in the end of round 1. So by round 5, it's now a 750% weapon bonus increase. Again, not a huge stat depending on your level, because there are so many other things that add to weapon damage that this little thing, but research and buildings and things like that. So it's not a huge number. But as you start scaling this ship up, you see by the time you get it to like tier 5, you're talking about 125% per shot, which is now 625%. Yes, thank you. 125 per shot, 6 shots is 750. That's per round. 5 rounds of that, now you're talking about 15, 3,700, 37.5, 3,750 for those of you at home. That's a much bigger increase. How long is it going to take you to get the tier 5? Well, that's a completely different story. Depends how much you spend and things like that. But it is kind of slow in the beginning in terms of upgrading it. But it does have some good values there. At max level, you're talking about much bigger percentages. And again, with it getting all of the focus being drawn to it, you're talking about some much bigger numbers here. Maxing out it eventually, when you're done, 750% per shot. Now, this is a pipe dream for most of us. This is, by the time we get here in 2 years, this number will probably be irrelevant because of just power creep. So it's a good point about not eating up lower level loot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger advantage of it is bigger advantages of this ship is that it's not going to draw as much loot away from lower level players who are relying on you to help them out with starting higher level armadas. I think that's kind of what the thought process behind this ship was, is it's an easier way for some bigger players to help smaller players. Hatter says it took you 9 days worth of pulls to get the tier 2. Okay. Well, if we look at what we need to upgrade, so you need 2,900 Vindicator parts, and if we go to our refinery, tier 1 refinery, ship parts, it's given 175. So 175. But I need 2,900. It only took you 9 days. You know what, though? If you were playing when the Ark and stuff came out, I think maybe the Battle Pass might have had a few of these in one of the reward milestones. So that might have also helped. I wonder if I have any of these parts lying around. Let's see if I even have any of the parts. I do have some of the parts. I have 1,000 of the parts already, probably from a battle pass reward or something when the ship was actually released. So you're only trying to get the extra 1,900, which again sounds right about 10 days. If you're somebody who's new or who didn't get this, it'll take you a little longer, maybe talking about a little over 2 weeks to finish tier 1 and get that upgrade. But it's not terrible for trying to upgrade from, through the ship here. But we would immediately do this and just spend that ship XP and get that ranked up. First off, it gives you the below deck officer slot, and secondly, like we just saw, it changes this from a 5% to a 25% increase, which is fairly significant. And then we start looking at, what do we want to upgrade first? Do we want to upgrade weapons? Do we want to upgrade armor? Shields? Oh, why is my shield deflection going down for upgrading it? That's not right. That seems like a weird little glitch. I guess we would do armor first. Where I usually tend to start is more defense first. You can always flip-flop, do a defense, do an offense, do a defense, do an offense. Sure, let's do that. There's an event going on right now to upgrade ship stuff. The other thing with the Vindicator, obviously we talked about its uses, and we talked about its refinery. One of the other components you get out of that refinery, which I can't get into right now because I'm currently upgrading the building. Now, somebody had mentioned in one of my videos last time I had this problem was that, oh no, you just click on it at the bottom or something like that and it pops up and brings you right to the window. But that doesn't actually do anything for me. There's no place to click. So we'll just speed up our research here real fast. And now I can get in here to the starship tree. And the Vindicator does have its own little section in here. Starting right here. So we start with warp range. That's one thing I didn't cover was what's the base warp range on this thing. But that's an immediate boost of 50 right there. All right. Then you have this special ability right here, right off the bat, boosting its base damage while using taunt. You're starting at 500%, and it's basically going up 500% per level. So again, while that small little increment from the ship's ability of getting shot was adding a little bit each time, this research here is going to add significantly more, thousands of percent more. So the faster you can level this up, again, the more damage you're going to put out there. This is going to give it back more of its shield health. So again, the shields stay up longer. This is going to give it... This is isolated defense for all ships, which is always helpful. This is boosting the mitigation while it's taunting. This is giving the ship more shields, which then plays into the shield repair ability here. You've got combat hull repair when you're using it to fight solo armadas. Okay, so when you're helping yourself out. And then depending on what other types of armadas you're fighting, there's other bonuses here. G6 players might have to be concerned about hazard resistance. Some of those hazard systems we've talked about. Getting this ship some extra resistance could be very helpful, especially because the G6, the epic solo armadas are only available in hazard systems. So anything you can do to increase your hazard resistance, and I think they're all like level 2 or level 3 hazards, so you're looking at 200 or 300%. So anything you can do to make that better is always a good thing. And this is more base isolatic defense. Now, of course, the warp range would be a problem. Maybe you can do something with summoning with the Vindicator or it's a Gorn Eviscerator or something like that to get the Vindicator out there, opening a rift. But yeah, that's not exactly the easiest thing to do, but if you have the ability to bring your Vindicator to G6 armadas, this may be helpful in terms of getting the hazard resistance going on it as well. That's the warp range. That's the one thing we didn't talk about yet. So mine at level 1 here 148. That's not good. That's using Fleet Commander Kirk already. That's plus my 20 or 25 from the warp particle research that I've done. So the base on the ship is probably only like 100, which is not good. And that's where that research is going to come into play. Because right off the bat, it's basically going up 50, 100, up to 300 bonus. By the time you get it up, this research up to like, level 7, level 8, you're talking about over 500%. I'm sorry, over 500 added to the warp speed, which is going to put it into the sixes. And then when you start adding other abilities in, it could get even higher, plus whatever the natural progression of the ship itself is. If I still have that window open. Or did I close it? Oh, I still have it open. So we can look at the base warp speed. So it starts at 110. And then as you tier it up, it moves up slowly. This is an 18 tier ship. So as you're, starting in your G4 range, it's not great, but enough to get you to G4 level targets. G4 maxes out at warp 185. So by tier 4, you're there. Plus, the research itself, adding another 50, definitely gets you there by tier 3. So you can cover all the G4 systems by tier 3 with that research. And then you start looking into the, 500s or so, 500s for the G5 ones that are further out in some of those systems to warp 58 to level 60 systems. You're getting there by like tier 9-ish with the research again. You're probably covering most of that stuff. And then you're going to notice that big jump from 10 to 11 here where you go from 400 to 675. And this is where you're transitioning from G5 content to G6 content. Because now you're going to 675, plus you'll have another couple hundred from the research is going to get you to 1,000, 1,100, which is kind of the area you need to be in to start doing some of the G6 solo armadas. So that's what you're talking about in terms of upgrading it in your breakpoints. But again, getting it up that far and the number of parts and stuff you need, if you're trying to take it to, what do we say, tier 10, tier 11, you're talking about a total of 140,000 Vindicator parts, which if you're getting, 175 a day, you're talking, what's that? Is that 1,000 days? I don't know. My math is not working right today. $822 days. That's all. Yeah. Now, obviously, your refinery improves as you tier the ship up. But again, still slow. Still a very slow progression path for sure. But I guess I should at least do this one to get that initial bit going. Just in case I actually do want to take this thing anywhere. Even I want to take it into Dominion space and use it out there for some Dominion solos. We can get that working. So that's the short version, really, of the Vindicator. What is the event called? Do you guys know the name of the event on Thursdays? I'm gonna try and look it up here on stfc.space. Or I can just try and go back to Thursday. Armada Attack, is this it? Nope, that's not it. Dimensional Breach. Thank you, Carissa. Dimensional Breach. Here we go. Here's our event, which hasn't been updated in a little while, but it's there. So here's your SMS, 1100, 2100 total. Blueprints, or Spacely Sprockets. You need to get 1800 points. Well, that's depending on your level here. So if you're level 40, you need 1800 points, which for you would basically be scoring this event by defeating Dominion solos, FKR group armadas, FKR solos. Doesn't say anything about Borg. Do Borg not count? So just Dominion? Interesting. Unless, of course, the event description is wrong. I don't know. Have any of you tried to fight Borgs? Borgs do not count. Good to know. Okay. So Dominion solos, fairly easy enough to do. No problems there. If you're a level 40 player, you basically just go do 2 level 45s and you're done. That's not too bad. If you're a higher level player, like for my particular ops level, at ops 62 now, I would need to get 668,000 points, which tells me I only get 53,000 for doing a level 10 armada. That doesn't sound right. It means I got to do 10 of these things? 11? That seems like a lot. Darth is saying, nope, that's right. So I have to do 12 armadas every Thursday. You do get double points if you're using the Vindicator. So then you only have to kill 6, assuming you bring the Vindicator. And I guess you could just go, well, it's a little over 100. Yeah, probably 6 or 7. But you just go, again, fight level 60 uncommons, because it doesn't specify between uncommon, rare, or epic. So you just go run a bunch of Dominion uncommons, 6 or 7 of them with the Vindicator, get them done in about 10 minutes, and you finish the event. It's a little more time consuming than I thought it would be, but again, it's still not bad. Especially because you can run any type of armada you want. So you can mix and match too. If I want to run 3 or 4 uncommons and then like 1 rare and 1 epic just to get enough credits so I have for box pulls for the week, that would also be an option there too. Continues to scale up? Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, as you continue to get higher and higher, your point totals are going to keep going up. Chris is at 64. She says her point totals here, she basically has to do like 20 armadas. See, Voltron saying he does the G6 solos. Now, is that why the scoring, is there a second page of scoring as well that's not showing here? Maybe you get more points available than just the 53,000, or is this really it? This is as high as it goes. And it doesn't give you additional points for G6 solos. There's more points. It would make sense that there would be more points for those higher level targets. So maybe that's a thing too. If you're doing the G6 solos, if you just, if you can't get the warp range, you can relocate your base to 1 or 2 of the systems and then just go take out some G6 FKR solo armadas and then get higher point totals for that too. Okay. Yeah. Chat's agreeing with me, saying that there's another chart for the G6 solos. So that makes a little more sense then too. That'll cut the number of armadas you have to start down, especially because you get 3 uncommon G6 solos per day. But they basically just gift you in your daily claims. So that seems a much more of what I had been hearing. Sounds more realistic and reasonable to what I had been hearing players saying, like, oh yeah, I just go out and kill like 2 armadas and I'm done. Now I'm understanding a little more of how that's working and why. Okay. So that's good to know. Thank you all for sharing that information, letting us look up the event and whatnot and see what's going on here. So now we know. And knowing is half the battle.